Mysterious death of a beautiful flight attendant. Her husband is shocked. His beloved was killed in their own house while he was in the other room. Who committed a terrible crime? You will not believe when find out the name of the killer. Welcome to the Psychics Investigate channel, with the most shocking real investigations conducted by people who call themselves psychics. Using their superpowers, they solve tangled criminal cases and find explanations for the most incredible mystic phenomena. Today, the psychics will investigate a mysterious murder of a beautiful flight attendant. The project's crime specialist carries out the investigation alongside them.
The body of 34-year-old flight attendant Natalia Stetsik was found in the apartment she rented on the 6th of May at about midnight. A head injury with subsequent cerebral hemorrhage was indicated as the cause of her death.
I can't believe she's gone. It constantly seems she's about to come in, hug me and say, "Mom, I'm back."
Natalia and her husband Roman rented accommodation in a 2-story building in Kiev's single-family neighborhood. A day before her murder, Natalia returned home after a lengthy foreign trip. The next day, she and her husband were going to visit her parents in Zhytomyr Oblast.
Waiting for your child to come to visit you, but then learning she'll never come is terrible.
Natalia's husband, Roman, was the only suspect. Her friends and relatives argue it's impossible, as the spouses never quarreled.
It was true, sincere love. She loved him so much.
She always called him Romchik. She even never called him Roman.
She dreamed of owning an apartment of her own, and she wanted to give birth to a baby.
Not long before the tragedy, Roman and Natalia bought an apartment. While his wife was on constant trips, Roman was improving the apartment himself. Nobody could even think the couple's plans would never come true.
In his evidence, the suspect claims that he and his wife spent the whole Saturday, the 6th of May, at home. After midday, Natalia went to take a shower, and he went to the kitchen to rest and watch TV.
Roman heard the roar of water in the bathroom. Then the door banged, and someone walked through the apartment. The man was confident it was his wife who went out of the bathroom.
After a while, Roman entered the room and shut the window, which happened to be wide open. There he saw Natalia lying in the bed with her head under the sheet. He thought she was sleeping and decided not to disturb her.
At 5 in the evening, Natalia's parents phoned. Roman answered the phone.
She said she was sleeping, having a rest.
Roman suggested he would wake his wife up, but her parents told him not to. They said they'd wait for them to come tomorrow. Roman says he hadn't noticed anything suspicious in the room where his wife was sleeping, neither at that moment nor later. So he hung up and came back to the kitchen, where he spent some more time watching TV. Afterward, he joined his wife in the bedroom and went to bed.
That evening, Natalia's mother-in-law called her to greet her with the return.
At around 11 in the evening, the landlady came to check on them. The apartment door was unlocked. The spouses were lying in bed.
The husband says he woke up to the neighbor's scream and was shocked to find his wife dead. Roman and the landlady immediately called the police and an ambulance.
The shocked man was taken to the police station.
The owners of the apartment, who spent all that day at home, also claimed they didn't hear anything.
Our expert found an odd detail in the case. The flight attendant's jewelry was gone.
The money that Natalia had earned and brought to invest in the home improvement and her jewelry are gone. We checked all the boxes, but they were empty.
If it was burglary, then why would someone need to kill her? It would be enough to stun her. And how did the murderer choose the right moment when Natalia was in the bathroom and her husband was in the kitchen?
She could have been killed to set Roman up, and he was purposefully made the suspect.
It's weird. Roman is an ordinary courier. He lived an ordinary, quiet life.
If someone's really trying to set Roman up, then who is it and why are they doing it? What also concerns me is why neither Natalia's husband nor her neighbors heard no screams.
Psychic Kayal Alekbarov, who was supposed to arrive in Kiev from Azerbaijan, faced an insurmountable obstacle.
Tears down roofs and breaks trees. The second-level danger has been announced in 16 oblasts.
Airports delayed all flights, and 3 people suffered from the terrible hurricane in cities.
Coincidence or not, but I suddenly heard the jinn's voice saying, 2 more women suffered because of the murderer. Find them.
Kayal Alekprov could only make it to Kiev 2 days later.
On board the plane, I saw a flight attendant who resembled Natalia a lot. But the thing is that she then disappeared.
What do you mean?
During the boarding, 2 attendants greeted me, and one of them, the one who looked like Natalia, told me as I was passing her, "Release Mom." There were people behind me, so I went straight on board. But I never saw the same attendant later. After the plane took off, I went to the cabin crew compartment, hoping to find her there. Is there another attendant apart from you, a blonde one?
She's a spirit. You saw a ghost.
And what could her strange words, "Release Mom," mean?
An hour later, the psychics were at the house where Natalia lived. They'd arranged a meeting with the murdered flight attendant's relatives here.
No sooner had we got off the bus when a spirit of some woman emerged next to us. I approached her and almost fainted. It was Natalia's mother.
It was the first time something like this happened at the project.
Natalia's mother died before we could arrive to investigate her only daughter's murder.
On the eve of the meeting, the grief-struck woman went to bed and never woke up. Her heart stopped in the middle of the night. During this interview, Lyudmila was seen alive for the last time.
I don't even know how to take it all.
Only the father stayed alive in this once happy family. But at that moment, he was busy preparing for yet another funeral together with Natalia's friends and family.
There was simply nobody to join us in the investigation. All we had was a photo of the deceased young woman her mother had given us.
Jana, what's Natalia's mother's spirit telling you?
Help me.
The jinns say, "Mission incomplete." I guess I know what they mean. Souls of people who have an incomplete mission, left after death, often stay in our world and can't pass to the netherworld until they finish it.
Natalia's mother's spirit won't be able to go to the other world to reunite with her daughter until we find the murderer.
This is exactly what deceased Natalia told me on the plane. Release Mom.
Having decided to investigate the case by themselves, the psychics are trying to enter the house in which Natalia lived.
We knocked on the gate and rang the bell, but the owners never opened, though I felt they were inside.
I see the picture. Natalia's attacked from behind. It's a man. But Natalia can't see the murderer. The murderer was hitting professionally. He's a master of some kind of martial art.
The victim's friends who came for the identification say Natalia's whole body was covered with strange bruises.
Her jaw was apparently either broken or twisted.
The examination concluded Natalia's body had taken over 100 hits with something blunt.
At a certain point, Natalia turns her head to the murderer. But it's like she doesn't see him, as if he hypnotized her.
Did Natalia really fall victim to a murderer with hypnotizing abilities?
I suddenly had a vision, a phone in the murderer's hand with the camera on. Natalia was unconscious, but the criminal continued to beat her, filming it with his phone. The jinns say she could have been killed earlier. She was in countries where there was war and gun and drug trade.
Natalia's late mother indeed mentioned something similar in her last interview.
Many people didn't agree to those night flights she did. because she flew with a Saudi Arabia airline and they could be downed any time. Her last employment was in Africa, 2 months before her death.
It turned out that a year after Natalia's murder, 2 more Ukrainian flight attendants were murdered in the Afghan capital. Unknown men broke into the hotel where they were staying and shot them.
The awful tragedy has been classified as a terrorist act, but the murderers' motifs and names remain unknown.
I couldn't understand whether the deaths of those 2 flight attendants and Natalia were connected. Natalia brought some packages from her trips.
What?
Some same-size boxes with something white inside.
It was some business. But she was deceived?
Flight attendant Natalia indeed registered small-size packages. However, I couldn't find out what exactly those packages contained.
She had some awful secret. She never confessed to her parents or friends.
Who could know of this business?
Mom. I feel Natalia's mom knew of this business. But I also feel those strange packages from abroad aren't connected to her murder.
We decided to check the psychic's words and find answers in the victim's mother's interview.
She brought bed sheets and towels for us and herself. Then they decided they could send it as luggage to her in extra.
But then I asked my book if the murder of those 2 other flight attendants was related to her death. And the answer was no. Jana, I have a feeling the neighbors saw the murderer. When we approached the neighboring buildings, I saw another entrance to Natalia's house through the backyard. Jana, come on. Hello. We knocked, but you probably didn't hear.
Go away. I don't need your psychics here. Get lost.
This woman found Natalia dead in the bed. But what was the reason for her reaction to the psychics?
We just wanted to ask you something about Natalia.
What do you want to ask me? What?
You could possibly see or hear something unusual on the day Natalia was murdered. Did you happen to see somebody leave their apartment?
She should have raised her daughter properly instead of doing bars and laying men. Tell her mother this.
What are you trying to say?
Get out of here.
Shocked by such a reaction, the psychics returned to the house where the victim lived.
Hold up. I hear a voice. This is her mother again. She says, there's a woman who warned her daughter she'd be killed.
I see a letter. My feelings say the woman who wrote this letter was somehow connected with Natalia's husband.
A wedding ring. A wedding ring. Maybe he had another wife?
It was indeed Roman's second marriage. His first wife's name is Svetlana, and they even have a daughter.
Look, could Natalia's murder be somehow connected with her husband's first wife? We need her contacts.
The crime specialist quickly found Roman's ex-wife's contact information, and the psychics arranged a meeting with her.
I felt you knew Natalia.
I met her at the court. I sued my ex-husband to get an increase in the child support he pays. It's just that I knew this man. I know who he is and how he behaves.
Do you mean Natalia's husband?
Yes.
What's wrong with him?
I just wanted to tell her she'd better stay away from him.
However, all the victims' friends claim Roman and Natalia were head over heels in love.
He's kind, good-hearted, and sympathizing. He'll always come to the rescue, and he'll always help.
He tried to strangle me, but I defended myself. I ran out of the room and locked in the bathroom.
I couldn't believe it. Could Roman really be the murderer?
He's not the one he claims to be. When he inflamed, I don't know what to call this state. He couldn't stop.
I felt Svetlana wasn't the last woman Roman tried to kill.
After Roman divorced Svetlana, he spent several years living with another woman.
He lived with a young woman named Katerina. She gave birth to a baby, but he claimed she'd cheated on him as he never planned to have another child. He said he already had one and he didn't need more.
Does it mean Roman didn't want to have children? Then how about his and Natalia's plan to have a baby?
He broke a flower pot on Katerina's head in the bathroom. He strangled her. Katerina was simply lucky to run out of the house in winter, in home slippers and a gown.
At that moment, I felt he'd also beaten Natalia and did it all the time. He knew how to injure in a way that left no traces.
He graduated from a school of Olympic reserve. He did freestyle wrestling, so he always said, "I know where to punch and how to do it."
This is shocking. But why didn't Natalia simply leave Roman?
He's always been good at persuasion. He's like a python, and you behave like a rabbit in his presence. He's always had this gift.
This man seems to have a gift. It's like he hypnotized her.
There's something about him. It's like hypnosis. He knew how to press people morally. He said, "Who needs you? Look at yourself." And I believed him.
The man realized such a beautiful and successful woman as Natalia would soon have somebody else. But Roman couldn't let his wife leave him because he lived at her expense.
Later, it turned out Roman's courier work was delivering bedsheets Natalia brought from abroad around the city.
When Natalia came back home, she saw all her money and jewelry were missing. Roman stole them and took them somewhere while his wife was absent. I feel that on the day of the murder, Natalia decided to leave Roman.
The cards say, "You could watch this murder again and again."
Yes. Amidst all this madness, he filmed all of it and then uploaded it online.
Svetlana heard this information during a private conversation at the police station. But how come the neighbors heard nothing?
The neighbors seemed to be hypnotized too. Roman convinced them that Natalia cheated on him while he was a model family man. The man did all those terrible things to Natalia when he was drunk.
He looked totally sane and made an impression of a cultured, educated man. But when he drank, he lost his mind. It's like alcohol let him off the leash.
After a long trial, Roman was eventually sentenced to 9 years in prison for the murder of his wife.
At that moment, Natalia's mother's spirit emerged. Natalia's mother says, "I finally know the truth. The truth my darling daughter was trying to protect me from."
She always tried not to upset us. She always hid all her problems.
We accomplished her unfinished mission, and now her spirit can go to the netherworld to reunite with her daughter. Svetlana, thank you so much for what you did. Few people would find the courage to warn someone they don't know about danger.
I just don't want anybody else to be hurt. That's it.
It's hard to believe such a monster was hiding behind the mask of a loving family man. This is yet another proof that domestic violence must never be concealed. The unsaid words can cost someone their life. If you're impressed by the story, don't forget to put a like to this video, subscribe to our channel, and share the video with your friends. It could probably help save someone's life.